you should never really apologize for, because it is what it is when it is. And if the people that you are conquering have, had more weapons, more boats, and better armory, then they would defeat you. The fact that you didn't is not the fault of the conquering horde. I mean, it's one of those big fallacies out there. So and this thing too is just a continuation of now people in the West apologizing for their history. It's ludicrous.
It's problematic,
especially some people. It's just some,
but they're the loudest voices
on behalf of the rest of us. That's the problem. And I will say, though, the world should actually be grateful for the British for having preserved the culture of the nations that were conquered and occupied. Like, for instance, it's the British archaeologists that taught us the most of ancient Egyptian history. The best preserved Egyptian artifacts are in England, whereas in Egypt, I mean, you have like incidents of mummies being decapitated. There's like some movement from the more radicals there to tear down the pyramids and stuff. So,
well, I mean, now the Egyptian archaeologists are brilliant. They're some of the best in the world. But at the time, I mean,
yes, now that may be different. Now that may be changing, but that's a relatively modern.
The British stopped the grave robbing of the tombs in Egypt. Now, again, you know what? History is this varied, wide thing. The big thing that my biggest issue is that there's certain people on the left who have decided that only tearing everything down is positive. And I've come to the conclusion that, and I'm doing a video on this actually, where rightly or wrongly, whether you want it or not, it's the assholes of the world that made things, and the apologists have made nothing.
You're welcome.
That's pretty much true. And welcome, Tom, and happy St. Patrick's Day. Being the
happy St. Patrick's Day, diddly diddly potatoes.
The truest Irishman on the panel, probably.
And the least drunkest. What the fuck is this?
Yeah, well, give it time. The stream is still young.
Yeah, this is just a continuation of a very tiny group of people being ashamed of who they are, and it's happening in the United States too. It's happening in Canada, everywhere.
Yeah, the United States sadly was leading the charge, and then it spread from there. Well, actually, it started with the Frankfurt School in Germany was not amazing. Let's put it that way.
1930s.
It's gone back and forth. Insidious stuff.
Well, we let them.
Yeah. And then moving on from there, soon heading into the main topics. Hypergiver 2 says for $5, wish me luck tonight. I aim to break my record of 9 Irish car bumps in a row. So I guess.
It's an IRA joke.
Yeah. Fun stuff. And Dr. Longdongler sent us a super sticker reminding everyone to please smash that like as we get rolling into the main topics here, because it's Monday, and Monday means we'll be talking about the weekend box office, and the weekend box office has been particularly bad. Yeah. Culture.
Should we say that's all, folks?
Yeah, we'll get into that. Let's first talk about the box office in general. We'll transition from there into Warner, because there's a lot to talk about with Looney Tunes. But first, with the weekend box office, I mean, Hollywood, they surely must be impressed with the 3 top movies and how much they're making. Won't they be, Cultured?
No, not at all. And when things started to look this way on Friday, I started to put together a video that went live yesterday that you mentioned at the beginning of the show, because this is as predictable as anything at this point in time. The box office is at its absolute lowest point. It has hit rock bottom. You have the top 3 films of the weekend not even crossing $10 million at all.
Would you say it's despicable?
It's despicable. I can't, you do that so much better, Tom. I can't do that. But I can do this. I can say Novocaine, which is an interesting film in and of itself, was, intriguing to some, but not many. And in 3,300 theaters, it averaged $2,500 a theater. Mind you, usually the film at the top of this chart is over 10K, 10K average per theater, and it's just not. And the film should be over 10 million, and it's not. 8.7 million on a film that Paramount Pictures released that was going to have nothing but limited appeal. It was disappointing. The film sounds like an interesting premise, but it sounds like it goes too far for too long, and it loses a lot of people along the way. Mickey 17, 7.5 million, a 60% drop from its dismal opening number.
I'm not surprised.
And it is
Novocaine came up from behind, basically.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. And it's wild. You know, if you think about it, Warner Brothers, we're going to be talking a lot about them here for the rest of the day, I think. It just puts another bad idea out there, and which is what has, I guess, Zaslav pretty hot. And Tom, would you say that Pam Abdi and Michael DeLuca are in trouble?
I don't know. I don't know if they're as much trouble as everybody's saying they are.
Yeah.
But I have heard a rumor that the only thing keeping the Batman 2 and Matt Reeves in play still is Pam Abdi and Mike DeLuca.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
What? Because I mean, the expectations. I know.
Here's the thing: is everybody's like they're going to fire them. Why would he fire them before the next few movies come out? Because the Superman is like supposedly the big thing, right? So if that's the case, why the hell would he fire them before Superman comes out? And then turn around. What happens if Superman's a huge hit?
Yeah.
Makes absolutely no fucking sense to fire him then.
No, for sure. I understand.
At the same time, I have been hearing rumors that, they are kind of, and this goes along with what I've been trying to tell people from the start. Warner Brothers, Zaslav, the way things are structured there, first of all, like all the different departments, DC Films and all that stuff are technically all on their own division, right? So they have to talk to what's his face, the second in command, and then they go to, they go to Abdi and them, and then he talks to whoever it is, and they talk to whoever it is, and then they talk to Zaslav, right? So Zaslav's got like way out here when these people are the ones making the decision. Just like the chick who's running, or the guy who's running, is it Casey Blois? Is that who I'm thinking of? Andre?
Yes, Casey Blois, who's running HBO, yeah.
Yeah, he runs HBO and all that kind of shit. So you have like the Wall of Woke and a bunch of other crap over there that's just, and that not only that, they're dealing with 30 years deep of bullshit.
Yeah.
Because this company has been just destroyed from the inside out. And I've said this for years. And honestly, the other thing is most of this stuff is doom and gloom. Mickey 17 doing bad is bad. But you know what? They've had a half a dozen other films that have done very well in the last year that nobody ever brings up. And they had nothing to do with this Looney Tunes movie. They sold this thing. This is the same thing they were trying to do with Acme versus Coyote. Or other way around.
Right.
And look how nobody showed the fuck up for this movie. And what did I fucking tell people from the start? Everybody's like, oh no, people want to see this. It'll be a big, huge hit. I'm like, there is no interest in the Looney Tunes. You want to know how I know? Because not a single thing from Looney Tunes has made any money since Space Jam. That's how I know. And that was 30 fucking years ago. I love the Looney Tunes. My kid grew up on them. But guess what? Nobody is going to get off their ass and go see them in the theaters. There's not enough people who will care that much. That's why this movie bombed.
Well, and most people think it's going to be on streaming in a month anyhow.
Exactly.
Yeah. Speaking of
I'm trying to understand how they're going to explain this one, because this weekend, no pandemic, no massive storms, a winter storm, no Super Bowl this weekend. I mean, there was nothing. But I looked back, I dug a little deeper, like with the black bag, and looking at Nova, because I hadn't heard of either of them. I had not heard of Novocaine. I had not heard of Black Bag. And it turns out Black Bag, it was a $50 million production, but they only spent $7.5 million on advertising. Now, on the other hand, Novocaine had a pre-Super Bowl spot. They had a big LA Clippers piece where the star of the movie, what's his name again? He's
Jack Quaid.
Yeah, from the
Boys.
The Boys.
Yeah, and he's also
series. Yeah, so
Dennis
he's like
Quaid's
getting
kid.
more and more beat up on this big marquee during the game as it goes on. So I don't know how much they spent, but it looks like if they only spent $7.5 million on that Soderbergh movie, Black Bag, and it was a $50 million production, they are cutting their promotional budgets. I think that's hurting them. And some people say, well, they're just, they're using the movie itself as advertising towards the platform, the home video. And I'm like, well, how are you making money on home video? I mean, why are you advertising for something to be included in everyone's subscription? I don't know what's going on, and I don't think they do either.
I got a question. It might be a weird one. Is the wasteland that is the box office right now conversely going to be an advantage for Snow White this week? With the lack of options, lack of like high profile things, will Snow White benefit?
I think
from
it will.
This?
It'll open #1, and they're already putting the good spin on it that it's beautiful. It's one of the great. I'm already seeing all the preemptive good spin reviews for this movie, Snow White.
Well, that's 'cause
so
they
it
only
should
let
do well.
us-
They should have moved it up to this weekend. It would have had 2 #1 weekends.
Honestly, yeah, it might have done a little bit, but they're saving it for next week because I think spring break starts in most places next week. Even
It's
though
spring
Easter's
break
real,
here right now. So
I was gonna say, even though Easter's late this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can we take one moment to address something which I
Sure.
think is vital to this box office? Because people have been trained to, oh, we don't have to see the movie in theaters because it'll show up on streaming in just a few days. Case in point, anyone know when Mickey 17 is coming out on streaming?
Yesterday. No?
Soon. It goes digital in what, like a week?
Next week.
Yeah.
I kid you not. It's going
No,
to
I
be
believe you.
available
I
on
believe you.
streaming in 8 days from now. It will be out on streaming next Tuesday, and it's being rushed out on streaming because it bombed. So this is something that's only been announced in the last 48 hours. It's like, oh, this thing flopped. Let's just get it out on streaming right away. But
Yeah.
this, of course, is how they continue their own death spiral. It's like, oh, if I don't see the movie, I can see it on streaming sooner. I'm never seeing the movie again. I mean, what the hell is wrong with them?
Yeah.
What are they thinking?
It's knee jerk, I think, at this point, kind of like trying to steer away from a curve you're sliding into. They just don't, they don't know what the strategy is anymore because nothing seems to be working, but they've hung themselves by their own petard with this streaming shenanigans and chicanery. I was thinking,
I think it's a perfect storm, right? Between the streaming, the woke, the politics, the shifting in people's tastes and how they consume media.
Right.
I mean, all these things culminated together into this, what we're looking at right now.
Well, even the back on that Novocaine, Paramount spent 18 million. I think they bought it for 18 million before the P&A cost.
And it sounds like they spent 3 times that on P&A.
Well, with a pre-game Super Bowl spot and LA Clippers stunt, I think you're right. Something that they're also saying though is that the movies aren't something like Avatar or even a Titanic or even Top Gun Maverick. They're only hitting one quadrant or another of an audience.
They're trying to claim the problem is they're not 4-quadrant films.
Yeah, I keep seeing that, but I'm even seeing people are saying they're not even 2-quadrant films.
Well, guess what? Hollywood, that used to be all your fucking movies almost.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. If you can make some movies like Novocaine where they're cheap.
Yes.
And you can afford to advertise them like that.
I agree.
That movie's going to possibly make money.
I don't think they know what to do with the smaller movies. I think they just put them out just to kind of diversify their library, but they're still counting on that tentpole.
Well, how about I suggest this when it comes to the smaller movies? They let them run into the ground. I mean, this weekend, if you take a look on this top 10 list, there was another movie that came out this week that isn't in the top 10. It was dropped by Neon, Neon. It was called The Actor. The only thing on Neon you see in the top 10, it looks like, is The Monkey. Do you see The Actor anywhere? No, you don't. They let this thing die in the weeds. It made $20,000 in theaters this weekend. Neon's that good mid-level that Tom and I are always looking for, and Tom and I talk about frequently needing more of these guys. Well, not if they're going to just disrespect the project that they put together. I mean, $20,000 is a little rough. And, it's not that any of these movies are like unwatchable. I mean,
No, normally this should be a decent box office. Captain America should still be number 1.
Yeah.
The Looney Tunes film should be number 2, but like I said, there's no interest in the Looney Tunes past a certain.
Do you blame some of
demographic.
that though, Tom, on catch-up entertainment picking up? I mean, they kind of saved this Looney Tunes movie, didn't they? Maybe they just
Yes.
didn't.
So this one was actually made directly for streaming, and it was they basically didn't see it as a good movie or whatever it was that they sold it off. The same time they did Coyote versus Acme. This did pick up this catch-up entertainment, which the only other thing that I know of they've done is they made that Garfield movie. And I don't know if they actually made it or if they just picked it up.
Well, they picked up that horror
and
film
that other
too.
one too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're just starting to kind of make a name for themselves. So I thought that they would really get behind this thing, and I think they kind of did. I mean, I've seen a little bit of advertising for it, and it's in a lot of theaters, but there a lot of empty theaters. Like everybody was like posting pictures of empty theaters, and you had a lot of people spurging out, going like, you fuckers were bitching about Coyote versus Acme, yet you didn't show up for this movie. And I said, yeah, that's why they didn't that's why nobody bought it, because they didn't see the interest in it. I love the Looney Tunes, and again, don't get me wrong, this has nothing to do with, like, I love them. I have every single episode that's ever been released on disc. And that's another thing that's going on right now, is I think that there's people at HBO that are trying to make Zaslav look bad because they pulled down all of the Looney Tunes shorts for some fucking reason. When you have a Looney Tunes movie in theaters.
Yeah.
Somebody is trying to make him look bad, and they're doing everything in their power to do it. And they've been doing it forever. And everything that's trying to doom and gloom this company out of existence. It's like, look, if anything, they made a good deal on this one because they sold it, and you can see why they sold it. Because there's just no interest in it. They probably saw that with Space Jam 2 because they did kill and destroy any Looney Tunes interest there was with that piece of shit.
Well, I also mean
that came out during COVID, so they could hide that disaster.
Well, but the numbers they're seeing on the people who attended was only 22% parents, 17% kids. I'm just wondering if they had a bigger advertising budget, could they have at least juiced their first weekend numbers a little more? And I think
maybe a little more, but I don't think it'd be enough to break in the top any farther than it did, really. Because, like I said, it's still be coming in at second or third place.
Well, it's top 5. It's respectable.
In a normal world, right?
Yeah.
But like people just aren't going to the movies.
Yeah, that's it. It really is that, and I really do blame streaming. I was watching on social media over the weekend. There's an account called Marvel.
Well, go down to the total there, as we usually do, Culture, and see how bad it is.
Oh yeah. I
think this is again. I made it, Tom. I knew this was going to suck. Look at this, 50.
Under,
50.9. I said on my video that I recorded on Friday that it could fall below 50 million this weekend. It was darn close. Oh, and by the way, here's the actor that I was talking about.
Yep.
They just let it die. Of course, they only put it in 23 theaters, but still.
Bill S. Preston does make a good point, though. Coyote versus Acme. It's clear from the title, but I don't know the premise for The Day the Earth Blew Up. What is it? Where's the marketing? Why would people show up? I've seen some marketing for it, but yeah, it was just... And this was supposed to be the better of the two.
Wow. It's a good thing Mufasa was still in theaters, or we wouldn't even have hit 50 million.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
We're living in a dearth of happy entertainment.
Very much so.
I think in many ways, so much of this is connected, whether you're talking about music, where there are no bands in the top 100 anymore. We don't know where this stuff is coming from. We're hearing this thing called music, but it's sort of just scratchy noise and background. And
it's
the
just
odd
vibe,
the
word you're looking for. It's just vibe and nothing
yes,
else.
Yes, that's my point. It's we have the odd anti-Drake diss tracks, but and then you used to sit down and watch and enjoy TV, and I think the enjoyment from each category of entertainment has been drained, so there's nothing to feed off it, I would say, which is why my mantra is fix network television. No one believes it. No one agrees with me.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
I
well,
agree with you.
well, at least in the marketplace,
Yeah.
get people enjoying entertainment at home. Get them to like the actors that are providing that entertainment. Watch those actors move into movies. Follow them along. They've just blown up the model. Plus, streaming has done what not Shopify, the music streamers,
Spotify.
Spotify. Thank you. Spotify has done is one of the challenges is that what is it? The top 60% of the music listened to on Spotify is all the old 70s and 80s and 60s stuff.
Yeah,
And so
actual
there
music,
is,
in other words.
and the thing is, you're not going to find new bands doing better stuff than like Gentle Giant. I mean, if you're into that shit like me, or or Supertramp. Like, do you hear any new bands trying to compete with Supertramp? I mean, there's so much good stuff. Not that there can't be new good stuff, is that there's so much good stuff that has already been done. The people on these streaming services, these music streaming services, are going, I can listen to all the greatest music that's ever been done. I don't need to support anybody new. So that's difficult. And I think that's also a problem with what's happening with, that's the same problem now with the Netflix. And you've got this massive library of stuff of really, really good things, The Conversation and Name, classic Hollywood movies. Why would I go see these shitty new movies when I can see The Godfather? It's
you're
I think we're killing ourselves.
Yeah. Well, and you're not wrong, and I'm glad you brought it up, Paul, because we were kind of talking a little bit about this yesterday on George's show, but it's true. And I feel like what's going to happen to the movies industry if they don't make some changes soon is exactly what happened to the music industry. Like the music industry,
no, we're already there.
It's getting there quick, but like the music industry is dead, right? Like you just said, it is totally dead. It makes no sense for you as an artist to even try to make it as a quote unquote mainstream artist now, when it's much more profitable for you to go out and do your own thing. Like look at what is his name, Tom McDonald and some of these other folks. Yeah, there's a lot of these guys.
Church. I mean, I can go through a list of YouTube-made musicians, right, Tom? And that's what we're looking at.
And and a big problem with that is, and you're right, Paul. And I think it's less to do with like it's not that kids are not seeking out, aren't listening to the same things. They are, but they don't like any of the new music, right? And we even bringing this up like yesterday, like even people like Taylor Swift, like they're not really into Taylor Swift's music as much as they are her image, right? Like it's kind of like, it's kind of like diminishing returns. It's like she's the modern whatever, but her music isn't nearly as good as like Madonna or Cyndi Lauper, even for that matter, if you really want to get into it. I mean, sure, she has a few hits, but you put anything up against like Time After Time, I'll fucking, right.
Oh,
right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, and that's the thing is these kids are diving back into older music because there's more emotion in it. There's more reality in it. And when and we can get into the digital aspects and all this other crap all day long and how, you got the same three writers in Hollywood or the music industry making all the new music.
Max Martin.
Yeah, exactly. We could go through all that all day, and that's a part of the problem. But the other part of the problem is the same thing that Hollywood's going through. And this is what I was talking about before with like this McDonaldization. And you guys are right. They have done nothing but make superhero movies and tentpole films for the last 15 years now, to the point where they forgot how to make regular movies again. Kind of like how NASA forgot how to get to the moon, right? Like, and all these other industries are like, and I saw it yesterday. There was like this one guy who posted something on Twitter about how he was watching Snow White with one of the old Disney animators. And he asked like, how would you do this today? He's like, we couldn't, because we don't know how. See, and that's the thing. It's like,
that's insane.
There is a blender function that says make into Snow White.
but that actually goes to show the problem that all of these techniques that they don't know how to do is analog techniques. Many of them were developed by Ub Iwerks, who worked with Disney, and now, especially with Disney's shitty new DEI hires, they all use Blender. That's what they require, what they were hired for. They were hired because they were women, and various other DEI hires that weren't qualified because they skipped on qualifications just to get 50% representation among Disney animators. So everyone that actually knew what the hell they were doing were fired, and now they can't animate.
Well, and technology has exceeded the old school stuff and made things so simple that people just have gotten automated out of, natural talent from the past.
There's AI for everything.
Oh, AI, CGI, just using computer tools these days to move between one frame of animation and another does it all for you with a couple of tweaks.
The worst part with the failure of the day the Earth blew up, a Looney Tunes movie. It was a 2D animated feature. If anything, we need more of those. Yeah. And we need them to do okay.
Well, we need actually hand-drawn animation. We need actual storytelling. See, this all goes down to, you need a musician for good music, for actual music. You need a musician for a good band. You need musicians to be a good band. You have to start with the talent and the ability first, and Hollywood has none of it now. I mean, that's ultimately what we're all saying. I mean, I think
also, though, that part of the problem is that there's an audience for slop, that they'll just take anything. That's why you see people out there, telling you how great all the Marvel stuff is, all the Disney stuff is, the Snyder Bros.
Well, a lot of these critics, that's all they grew up on. That's what Tarantino was kind of talking about with the kids, but it's also true of these more recent critics besides us, right?
Yeah.
Like any critic that's under the age of 30 probably hasn't seen a movie that's older than 1985.
Do you think the glut of elevated mediocrity just discourages people with real talent from even trying?
No, I think it was mainly just a resistance on the part of some of the newer generation to do things the old way. So you have this gap in there where these people didn't learn how to do this shit.
But as a creator, Scribelight mentioned something that I've been wanting to discuss for a while, in that even back in the Blockbuster days, I would walk through the entire store and go, there's not a single thing that I want to see. And that was discouraging for me as someone who wrote things and screenplays, and go,
I don't know if
why should I throw my lot in and just make more kindling? It depressed me. That was my view. I'm sorry if I'm not trying to be depressing, but I went, wow, you know what? If I can't make a Ghostbusters, then why bother? I don't want to be kindling.
I had this theory, and this is a weird analogy, but I had this thought long ago when social media started popping up and everybody and their brother tried to make themselves the next star. I kind of think of it as, and go with me on this one, the Punky Brewster effect. So Punky Brewster was this colorful, rambunctious individual in a relatively gray and drab world. She was the special one in this little place and brought light and brightness to everybody's life. And when you're in a small sort of cloistered community or bubble like that, you can be the special one and stand out and actually get encouragement to build yourself up or pursue that kind of trajectory. But when you start broadening out the bubble with social media, YouTube, the internet, you see all these people who have next to no talent, and yet they are corporatized into giant stars out of nowhere. I'm thinking of like Chappell Roan and Sabrina Carpenter, these characters I've never heard of before. Suddenly they're the biggest stars in the world, and then everybody's a Punky Brewster because everybody's special all of a sudden. I've got these pronouns, I've got this aspect to my makeup, I'm this, that, and the other thing. It to me, and I know I might be talking as an old man here, like Paul said, it feels like there's no room to do anything because everything is being done, and or the things that get all the popularity are so bad. Then what is the value of quality anymore? Does that make any sense?
Okay, yeah. It does, but let me pin it into a different box.
Sure.
And say that the reason we don't get good things is because they're all underneath this hemmed-in umbrella of we can only make things if they check all these boxes, filmed by committee time. Because that's what's limited everything now. It's limited comedy, it's limited television, filmmaking, even music. You are not the right image.
Writing.
Yeah, exactly. Right. All the writers are not
how do you make
writing
Stand
film.
By Me without the original source material? The source
Well,
material
and that's
sucks
what
out
I was
there.
getting at. Is it's all, and I get where you're coming from, Paul. Like back in the day, maybe as somebody who was a creative, you could feel that way.
But even
now
now, listen, no, I'll scroll through all the available library of Netflix and Disney. Disney now has got phenomenal Fox library. And I'm going, do I want to add to this? Like, what's my motivation to create something that few people will see and will just be a thumbnail on a streamer?
Well, see, you're the exception to the rule in a lot of cases, because that's part of the problem is real filmmakers and real storytellers, they don't get involved in this shit anymore because they can't get anywhere. The only people who are doing it are hustlers who kind of know how to play the game. And that's the thing, is they've been playing the game so long in Hollywood. That's what I've been trying to say, is they have literally forgot how to make these classic films. That's what I was getting at with the whole deal with, we could get into the technology side of things and all that kind of stuff. And that's what I was kind of saying before, is a lot of these this younger generation has rejected everything from the previous generation as far as teaching them, yet they've lived on and banked on their existence, right? Like, because everything we see that comes out, like, it just dropped trailer for the Final Destination movies. We got another Final Destination movie. I know you don't care about them, but you know what? That's what I'm talking about. It's nothing new. It's all old franchises being constantly recycled. It's just like the music industry. You don't hear anything new and fresh, right? And I told this story before, so I'll keep it short. But like, I was walking through the gas station one day, and I'm hearing a song on the radio that's sampling a song, that's sampling a song, that's sampling a song, right? And just to tell you what I'm talking about, this song was sampling a song that sampled Mariah Carey, Sweet Fantasy, that already sampled the Tom Tom Club, right? So I said to the lady at the counter, I'm like, is it getting to the point now where they've sampled these songs and stuff so many times that these kids probably don't even know where the original comes from anymore? And she's like, well, there's only so much you can do with music. I said, that's bullshit. We've been making music for thousands of years.
No, Tom, we've run out of notes. I have
exactly. That's what I said to her. I'm like, what? Like you ran out of notes or something? It's like, no, they find a new way to repackage it and sell music again. It's bullshit. And nobody's creating anything new, that they're just living and building off of top of. What's another thing that's funny I heard the other day? Vanilla Ice bought the rights to fucking Under Pressure because it was cheaper for him to just buy the rights than it was to keep paying them. Like, that's where we've hit this industry now. It's nothing. It's dead. There's no incentive to become a rock star now. None. Unless you can fill a fucking stadium. Your chances of becoming like the next Aerosmith are zero.
And it's not like,
and it's the same thing with becoming the next Kubrick. There's zero.
Well, the movies are different. So, I mean, apart from streaming movies, let's say, Back in Action or things like Baywatch with, the muscled guy, and even Renfield, stuff like that, nothing is really standing out. I mean, when you think of when there was a movie business and they made movies like Midnight Express or Remains of the Day or Fried Green Tomatoes or Boys in the Hood. I mean, I think every single one of those titles I just said, you probably have heard of or seen, right? And you get a sense of, well, they had a minimum quality standard in all those movies. They're all watchable, every single one. And I'm just not getting that level of professionalism and variety from the stuff that's coming out now. Like, would they make a Midnight Express now? No.
Well, because I don't know if John Lennon actually ever said this quote, but Jack Nicholson used it in a movie where he's like, look, I'm an artist. You give me a piece of clay, I'll mold it into a figure or statue. You give me a tuba, I'll make a song for you, right? Like, that's the thing. Artists used to be able to work with whatever they had to work with. Now these kids, everything is done for them between digital this, AI that, all this business. Like, there's no actual creativeness going into this. They're always just doing a derivative piece of something else. That was kind of my whole
source
point
material.
That was, and you're not wrong, right? Like, because they used to live and die and breathe by, like, what is all these novels coming in this year? Okay, so what's the stuff that's going to work for a movie? They'd pre-buy that shit before the movie, before the book would even come out.
They're still doing that.
Well,
but are they using those? That's my question. It's just a little
they're not
companies
turning into anything.
Well, there are people. There became an intermediary between the material that was being produced and Hollywood. It was places like Hello Sunshine and stuff like that. These girls that came out and followed Oprah's path and bought all these books out or acquired the rights from underneath all these writers, right? And an example of that's actually the producer group Wayfarer, which is Baldoni's group that bought this one particular set of books that he's going to make a mint off of. And Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds decided they were going to try to acquire it. And setting all that backstory aside, I'm just going to say there's groups like that go out there and buy up that material and then repackage it for Hollywood to be a part of the process. But the problem is we're introducing so many intermediaries that a lot of good stuff is being lost, in the shuffle. Hollywood is not interested in making a broad appeal film outside of, the cookie cutter superhero stuff right now. They certainly don't know how to do Star Wars. They don't know how to adapt anything because, my goodness, you could have done the Thrawn trilogy for Star Wars and made a mint. They are incapable of doing this across the board. I mean, Paul's right. Everybody here is right. We need to get down to the basic, broadest appeal, and that would be network television, going all the way back to 15 minutes ago when we started that. And that's what we need. We need that to make the thing that just went off the screen, the movies, better, because then everybody gets to see a path to get out of the rut that they've driven themselves into. When you look at the $50 million weekend at the box office, which is the theater owner's biggest nightmare, is that the receipts are going to decline and they're not going to be able to pay their staffs. If they're getting $1,700 a screen on something like The Last Supper or or even worse, $1,100 a screen for the day the Earth blew up, which is the Looney Tunes song. How are you going to pay your staff? How are you going to pay your power bill? How are you going to pay insurance? How are you going to pay? There's the theaters have giant expenses because they're running giant buildings where they show people entertainment. People aren't going to see said entertainment anymore. So your model, your business model is going to start to, fall apart. And it really is now. I mean, there's probably outside of, I've noticed concessions are not being purchased at the rate they used to be, probably because they're, prohibitively expensive at times, but that's part of their business model. And if you have fewer people going to the theaters, you have fewer people buying your snacks. It's a death spiral that we've been engaged in, maybe not knowingly, for probably the last 15 years, as you guys suggest. But I would say that in its most concentrated form, post-strike, that's why we're here. There was only projects that continued on after the shutdown were the ones that somebody thought were going to be cheap enough to make money.
Anyone willing to watch 2001 on their phone is never going to go to the theater.
Yeah, but you have to see the movie in a theater.
And that's part of the problem too, Paul, is you have an entire generation that has now grown up with big screen HD TVs in their houses.
Or they've grown up with a freaking tablet in their crib. I mean, let's be honest about the screen capture.
But what incentive is there to go see a really...
I don't think we're going to see the end of cinemas, though. I mean, I think that they're just going to have to rethink the model of what they're doing, and hopefully this will cause a reckoning, and they won't take the wrong lessons from it. I think they've got to increase the window between theatrical and digital release. They've got to.
Oh, I think that's going to be a big issue in the next year or so, because even NATO, the National Film Theater Organization, has been bringing that up a lot. Because that's what's killing that's killing the industry. Look at what's happening to the box office on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
Well, right. They also have to, where they exist. It's going to happen because I feel very positive about it, but it's not going to come from me. There's going to be a whole group of young, passionate people who love film, and they're going to do their own Sleepless in Seattle. It's going to happen because people still like going to the theater. I think in many ways, maybe the movie experience can be saved when the movie experience can be saved, whereas the music experience has been killed. because we are social animals. We've talked about that before.
What's the live music? Live music is still a thing, Paul.
Yeah, live music is a thing. Yes, there's no question.
So
I
you
mean,
gotta
and
figure
that's
that out
never
for
going
theaters.
that's never going to die. But
Right.
teachers are complaining about the fact that kids are so addicted to their phones that when they come into class, they're just staring at them and not processing anything as the teacher is talking. It all revolves around.
Well, there's no reason for kids to retain anything anymore. That's
Well,
part of the
there's
problem.
too. I mean, that's a different discussion. But I mean, I think it all.
But it's part of
you know, if you're not capable of maintaining the attention for your teacher, how are you maintaining the attention for a 2-hour movie? I wonder. I wonder if they've done any surveys where how many people are itching at the 15, 20, 30-minute mark to reach for their phone, that they're actually not enjoying the movie only because of the reflexive need to reach for the phone and look at it.
Is it just a fever dream I'm having, or was there experimentation with shutting off people's phones by dampening the signals in theaters at one time?
There was, but they couldn't.
Places, but
but they couldn't do it because you need to make emergency calls.
Okay, I thought I remembered something. Yeah,
but what I will say, I think that there's another factor to this because Paul, there you have the difference between the home theater experience and the actual theater experience, because I submit that your urge to check your phone and to tune out of the movie will be all the greater in a home theater with all of the distractions and stuff like that around, especially when you can pause and rewind. And there you have the big difference between an actual theatrical experience, which is far more immersive, which means that the need to check your mobile is going to be less than in a home setting.
We actually used to discuss this before a lot of the woker stuff kind of came and creeped in, like when we were still talking about just kind of more of the bastardization or McDonaldization of films, where we were talking about how, and Andre might remember these conversations from back in the day, where a lot of these shows and movies now are made to where they let you know when you get to look up from your phone. They'll have a loud noise or something happen within the soundtrack that will alert you to look up from your phone, so you know to pay attention now. Otherwise, the rest of the time it's fine to just kind of like meander through your phone because you're not missing anything.
It's amazing how we have to.
We noticed
how basically the movies have to have like a repeat function to remind people what's happening because they know you were busy on your phone and pay attention now. This is important. The rest of the time was just meandering, but. Yeah, that's
I would love to do a sketch where someone just stands up in the middle of the theater and goes, "Hey, Shimmy, can you stop the movie for a second? I got to tweet this." Oh, no. Thanks.
Can you hold it there? Now. I want to do a screenshot so I can put it on my social media.
Yeah. Okay. Basically, Paul, here's your skit. Everyone in the theater have the opportunity to pause the movie. Let's see how long that lasts.
Well, and this all goes back to what
idea.
What I was saying before about when you have a home theater the way it is. Look, I get it. The incentive for going out to see these things is less and less and less and less. When I was a little kid, the awe of going to see a movie in the cinema was I got to see something on this big ass screen in a quality that I didn't get to see at home, in a sound that I didn't get to see at home. And I could never recapture that experience at home until DVD came along. And then all of a sudden I started going like I was somebody who frequented the theater every fucking weekend and sometimes multiple times a week, depending on what was out, right? Then as soon as DVD and stuff hit, it's like, why the fuck should I bother spending all this money going to see a movie when I can just wait till it comes out on DVD, sit at my home, not deal with all the bullshit out there, just like everybody else said before. And this was 20 some years ago, right? So I stopped going and only started going when it was tentpole features. So part of it's my fucking fault, right? People just like me who decided, you know what? I'm not going to put up with this bullshit anymore. And so the studios, they kept pushing and pumping out these bigger tentpole movies so they could actually get people to come to see these movies. And they forgot, as we said from before, how to make the standard movie star, how to make a standard film, how to make a movie for less than $100 million, and to market a movie for less than $100 million. They have forgotten how to do all these things, unless it's an Oscar film.
Look, I'm with you, Tom, but I'm going to say it all comes down to pacing. I think the fact that a lot of us talk about pacing in every one of our reviews and the fact that there are dead points in everything now.
Well, that just goes back to the people not knowing how to make movies as well.
Exactly. But honestly, I mean, if it's a good movie, I don't even look at my phone. And in fact, I now take a giant a giant writing pad with me. I had not a little one. I used to use a little notebook when I was writing notes on a movie, and I would have to look down to make sure I was writing in a line that would be legible. But now I just take a giant notebook and just scribble notes on it, so that I don't have to look down. I'm always trying to focus on the movie. It's why I took 15 pages of notes for the magical the Society of Magical Negroes or whatever it was. So, but
was a waste.
It was, but I took 15 pages of notes because I didn't want to miss a criticism, because that was a giant criticism movie. It's just the biggest problem is we don't know how to make movies, and that's an art.
There
that
shouldn't
got
be
lost.
dead spaces in movies. In fact, I just watched a movie that's not even that old the other day, and it reminded me of how there shouldn't be any, like, because one thing I always pointed out is your movie, every second, every minute on screen is very important real estate. And if you're not filling it with something that's important, then why should the audience give a shit? Because I watched Crank the other day, last week, and that movie is nonstop from beginning, and it's only an hour and change once you take out all the credits. And it's like, it doesn't stop for anything. And every scene has something going on in it to where you're getting all sorts of explanation. You can't look at your phone, or you're going to miss something. That's not the way movies are made anymore. And I noticed that. I'm like, this is a completely different way of making movies. And part of it also came in when they stopped putting things on film and they started doing things digitally. Because then they, even Warner Brothers famously had that old rule, like no movie goes out over 2 hours. That used to be the old Warner Brothers rule. And the only exceptions were unless your name is Clint Eastwood or fucking Peter Jackson. That's about it. Right? Or maybe Martin Scorsese, because otherwise you couldn't afford to send out a movie that it was more than that, because you had to pay for the reels and all that kind of stuff. But nowadays they don't have to worry about that. So we go to the theater and every movie's over 2.5 hours long now. No reason in the world should any movie be over 2.5 hours long unless it's called Lawrence of Arabia or Godfather. Like, that's where I'm at now. And this is every fucking movie.
Well, one of the complaints I have with the streaming movies is that they're all exactly 2 hours long.
Or that too. I don't have such a problem with rigid kind of timing thing. And I'm not saying it has to be rigid, but Script and I have talked about this before. Like, genres used to kind of have a pattern to them, as like the studios knew that if you're going to do a comedy, you got to get in and out in 90 minutes. The audience is not going to sit there for a comedy more than 90 minutes. If it's an action picture, hour and 45, 2 hours tops. Don't go no farther than that. Comedy, costume drama or whatever, sure, you can get away with 2 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes, right? But I mean, you start creeping up there over 2 hours, people start getting antsy.
Well, I mean, we seem to have the solution for everything. I'm just waiting for someone to listen to us.
They are starting to, but I don't know if it's. What's funny is we're all like, what's his face when Johnny Carson would dress up like the fortune teller? What the hell is
Karnak?
Yeah, we're all the Karnaks here, and they're all just kind of sitting around scratching their ass, going, "Well, what do we do?" It's like, well, if you'd listened to us for the last 10 years, you'd know.
The irony is that that's actually 100% accurate. If they had listened to us 10 years ago, they wouldn't be here now. This is the irony. We actually have all of the answers for them.
We had the answers for the streaming wars.
Yeah, we had the answer to the streaming wars in a Midnight's video from literally 9 years ago. We predicted, I was going to say in every detail, but in large measure, exactly how this was going to play out. It's going to be a complete disaster for everyone and bring people back to piracy. Only it ended up even worse than we imagined.
I just don't think they can put the genie back in the bottle. I think the problem is now they've built too much infrastructure, and that's sort of their business model. As someone over at Deadline was writing, that now these movies just seem to be advertising for the streaming site. If you didn't go see it at theaters, now you can see it on Disney Plus or whatever. Yeah. And I think it's easier. Maybe not as easier, but they'd rather roll their dice on a 2 or 4 quadrant big tent pole, which can make a lot of money if it works, rather than 24 small movies, very niche and diverse, that just don't bring in the money they want and aren't putting butts in seats at the theaters.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see how the next few years pan out.
The downside to that too is that you kill the industry in the sense that you've got fewer people pitching when you've got 26 some odd movies that you're producing per studio that goes into the theaters, you've got just a lot more directors, writers, big, small producers that make up the population of Los Angeles that you can talk to. I don't know if there's fewer people that you can talk to anymore in LA. I was just down there, but it's different. You certainly have far fewer studios that you can call to go see their sitcoms. I mean, I phoned.
Is there even any sitcoms anymore? What, a handful?
No, yeah, that's the problem. But I phoned them back in the 90s, and I said, I phoned the All in the Family people. Can I come down and see one of your tapes? Yeah. Can I go see the Taxi people? Yeah, come on down. Can I see Family Ties?
I love
Yeah,
how you said
come
a
on
few
down.
years ago when you're talking about 50 fucking years ago, Paul.
I know. I'm sorry.
I love
But
you,
I mean, the health of the industry requires a lot of people to be in the industry, making industry. How's that for?
That's true.
Brilliant.
I think sitcom is a little bit different animal, and you and I have talked about this many a time. And yeah, woke killed the sitcom. I think, like, that's the one that I think was destroyed the worst by the whole woke movement. Because prior to woke, we still had sitcoms, and there were some popular ones. But then we got to a point where basically the only sitcoms in the world still were the Sheldon Show until that got canceled. Basically, was the actual traditional one.
Modern Family and
Murders in the Building.
The
basically.
Big Bang were the last two standing. Yeah,
and the closest thing to it now is the Nothing But Murders in the Building or whatever.
Yeah, which is great. I love it. That is fantastic. But that's made by funny people,
and that's still more of like a shot in a drama than it is a sitcom. See, that's my point.
It's a good. They've managed to combine the best of both worlds.
And it's made by funny old people who were there during your days. Let's not forget about that.
Some of them might even be older than Paul, if it's possible.
By and for your generation, which is why it's good.
Well, I mean, most of the comedies or sitcoms of the era that you're talking about, just before the end of days, which is where we are now, was Chuck Lorre and Bill Prady and that crew of guys, and they're definitely as old as Paul. So, that's where funny came from. We don't have funny anymore. You're not allowed to be funny because those are the rules. You got to fit in the checkbox. You can't offend anybody. You can't make anybody sad. You can't hurt people's feelings. You can't appear to be a colonizer or some such.
Well,
I don't want to stick on this topic, but I think most of its demise came from the shrinking of the over-the-air television business and the fact that they could make more money more cheaply doing
reality.
I think reality shows killed
that hurt
network television.
It definitely killed MTV.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe that's where there's a little avenue for things to kind of make. Maybe that's the next big surprise, because we haven't had a real good breakthrough comedy. Although that one movie with Keke Palmer did pretty good so far this year, even though whatever, give him props, I guess. I don't even remember the name of the movie, but maybe Spinal Tap 2 and some of these other films that are coming out are just what the doctor ordered. And
we need young people who are funny, young.
Yeah,
new young people.
That's true. I'm not saying you're wrong there, but I mean, we need people to wake people up and remind us that we can have fun. That's the thing. I think that's most important. But let's see what you guys are talking about out there. Paul, this one's from Hyperguyver. It says, Paul, an ICB, not an IRA joke. It's mixed drink. 1 pint Guinness Stout, half shot of Irish whiskey, and a half shot of Irish cream, drop and chug. Ugh. You know what Irish whiskey is called in Ireland? Water.
Scotch.
Thank you for that correction, Hyperguyver, too.
Thank you.
Water Tamazuski sends in $1.99, says, how many people besides the janitors will see SW? What's SW?
Star Wars?
Star Wars or...
Come on.
I would assume Star Wars.
Are
we talking
Snow White? Snow White.
Oh, Snow White.
Yes.
I was going to say it can't be Star Wars because there's nothing Star Wars.
I think it'll do well. I think it will do very well that first weekend. You still have a lot of people that don't follow.
You think so?
Can I ask you a question then? Wait, hang on. I got a question. This is important because Chris is a smart guy. So we're looking at a projection of 43 to 53 million right now.
Wow.
So when you say it's going to start out pretty good. What's pretty?
Well, I think it's gonna do 40, and then I think the next week it's gonna do in the 20s.
Oh,
Okay, so basically, your definition of pretty good, it's starting in the 40s. So you agree
You know,
with
I'm
me where
comparing it
it's
to
going
everything
to open
that
to less
happened
than
this
50
week.
million.
It might actually earn the total sum of what was earned this last week.
oh
Yeah.
no!
I agree with that.
Oh.
I think that they're going to be like #1 movie in the world.
Yeah, oh, they
Not
will.
just that,
They
number one
will.
movie of the year. They're going to be
Yes.
talking about how it's the
Yes,
number one
they
movie
will.
of the
course
year.
they will. Yes.
Yeah.
Before it even makes that much.
rehabilitation of Rachel Zegler has begun.
And honestly, I think y'all are crazy if you think this movie's going to make much more money than $200 to $300 billion. And even if it makes 300 all in, I'll be surprised.
Well,
And
you
the
know,
reason I say
Moana
that-
2 made $1 billion so far.
Moana 2, this ain't. See, that's the thing. And Little Mermaid is my bar now, and I think culture knows where I'm going with this, because Little Mermaid had more going for it than this fucking movie did.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you something. If you go and watch all the premiere shit, the controlled premiere, I would have given I'd have given $500 to have Gal Gadot walk by the little girls they had set up there that were dressed like Snow White. That was clearly a stage.
Photo op.
And none of them could even give a fuck about her, it seemed like, except for maybe 3 of them. If Gal Gadot had just walked past her in the background and all the kids freaked out and went Wonder Woman, I'd give $500 for that video right now. Right now. Because I would love to see the look on that little bitch's face when she realizes nobody gives a fuck about her.
I wish she had seen the reaction
Twisted
from
Tom.
actual girls
Aren't
in
I?
theaters, because I remember when I was in theater most recently with my daughter and one of her friends, and then the trailer for this movie came out. And remember, right now, I am not in Norway. Like, my daughter is very Norwegian, but we are living in the Canary Islands for the time being, and the friends that we brought with us are also native to the Canary Island, meaning they are basically Spanish. They're Hispanic, right? And then the trailer for this movie came on. Now, they were aware that the Snow White movie was coming, but this was the first time, I believe, that they saw this movie, and they saw a Snow White who kind of looked like them. So my daughter accepted, but the others, a Snow White that kind of looks like them. Now, guess once their reaction to seeing this particular Snow White. Do you think that they felt seen, that they felt that they were like more present or validated or something? Or do you think the reaction was, ew, she's ugly, who's that? That's not Snow White. Which
I'll
of
give you
these
$5
two
it was
reactions?
the latter.
It
$5
was the latter. It
Yeah, I
was
was
the
going to guess
latter.
the latter.
They were like, the queen is prettier.
Yeah.
Look at these kids. They could give a fuck. They don't even know who the hell she is.
She's not wearing a costume.
How come she
should
doesn't have
been wearing a
Xavier
costume for
Bardem's
sure.
haircut?
Yeah, that was a bad mistake. But do you remember did anybody see that viral video of the little girl that saw the trailer for The Little Mermaid, the live action? And she says, why
Yes.
is Ariel black? And it's a black little girl. I
Yeah.
should mention that.
Yeah.
And, she
And then
says,
the
"Why
mom's
is
like,
Ariel black? Ariel's not black. Ariel's white.
And then the mom goes, yeah, she's black like you, honey. And she's like, Ariel's not black.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was
hilarious.
literally the
We should be
reaction.
thankful that they uploaded that video at all.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but this was literally the reaction of my daughter's friends.
Wow.
And
Look at the
they were
handler.
not impressed by seeing themselves on screen. Let's put it that way. That's not what
Gotcha.
they wanted. So anyway,
Yeah.
culture. Sorry, carry on.
No, look at the handler in the background,
Yeah.
like trying to get these girls to be interested. Oh, it's a boy. Why is there a
That's a boy there, but
boy
yeah,
there?
No. Look, you know who these people are? Is they're probably kids of either producers and people crew of the film, or somebody else pointed out, you know who they probably are? They're kids of the selected influencers.
Of course. Yeah.
How did they get the same costumes?
That's
From
my
Disney's
point. This is
costume.
Well,
staged as fuck, Paul.
But these are all available at every Disney shop. that
They
you go
are,
on
but they
Main
handed
Street.
them out to these kids and they said, get out there. Because look at that. None of these kids know or care who she is. And this is why I said I would give Fuck, I'm to the point where I'd almost give $1,000 if I could have a video where Gal Gadot's walking past here and everybody's like, Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman. All the little girls freak the fuck out. That would be amazing to just show the difference in how they give a fuck.
I bet you that happened and no one filmed it. But anyway, but Paul, yeah, this is exactly referring to our most recent video on Snow White, where basically we went through how all of the major press events have been cancelled. What they're doing instead to promote the movie are these very minuscule, microscopic, tightly controlled PR events with no one who is potentially a hostile journalist or reporter present. All of the attendees, all the reporters and stuff like that have been handpicked. That's what this is. This is a carefully orchestrated and crafted PR event and nothing but.
And it's been cultivated completely from head to toe.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these things always have a little pomp and circumstance and bullshit involved, but this is so controlled that, like you even said it in the video, Andre, like, we're talking about influencers who are not even in the hundreds of thousands, but literal, like, ones of thousands. Because they know the ones that they can trust, basically, and that's it.
Well, I don't blame them. I can't say I blame them. I would control it.
They're trying to control the damage as much as possible. The embargo for the actual reviews, like, you can do social media reactions now, which the only people who have seen the movie are people who are going to give it a positive social media reaction.
Yeah.
Right? Like all the regular outlets like Variety and all that kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And the embargo's up until the day it comes out. So, yeah.
Wow.
And they even snuffed out the UK premiere and put it in some little rinky-dink castle or something like that.
Yeah, it was in Segovia, Spain. And in that castle, they wanted to tangentially tie back to what the original castle in the original animated feature was based on. So, but that town, Tom, only had 51,000 people in it, dude.
That's what I'm saying. It was basically hidden.
Yeah.
And the only reason I think that is either half of the press part of it. You guys are right about that. But also because they're hiding the goddamn movie. Because if anybody sees it before it comes out, then yeah, they're going to say how bad it really is. But anyhow, let's get back into these super chats. We've got Mexican Iron Man in the house instead of on the panel, but he's busy at work as tax season comes slowly to a close. Mexican Iron Man says, my kid Max at age 12 is lead singer in 2 kid bands aged 9 to 14, and they perform over 30 cover songs, and all of them are from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And the kids are the ones that pick the songs they want to learn. So yeah. Like my kid growing up, the only modern music he listened to, and it was barely modern music, was like Linkin Park and Green Day. Otherwise, it was all bands from the 80s or older. What do you got here, Paul?
We're just going to say this is the opening to the very first Snow White. They made a much bigger deal of it, is all I'm saying.
A lot of pomp and circumstance.
Yep. Hollywood, Carthy Circle Theater. It was Hollywood. Anyway, so yeah, this is the Hollywood. It was
the first fully animated feature film too.
Yep. And they got an inkling that this was going to be huge. Again, you know what? We're never going to go back to those days. We got to be careful that we don't to get too nostalgic. I mean, you know, my mom was an usherette in Budapest, you know, through the 30s and early 40s before the war. And my mom in Canada wouldn't stop talking about Joel McRae and Robert Taylor and Spencer Tracy. I mean, her love for movies was equal to the luminance that Hollywood created for those stars. Like they worked in a symbiotic way. I mean, my mom loved Robert Taylor. So, I mean, and that was from a different era. We're not going to get another Robert Taylor, and nor are we going to get people. My mom would watch the movies over and over again as an usherette. Loved it. I don't think anybody who's cleaning up the theaters at our local Cineplex is really excited about watching the goddamn movie over and over again.
Half the time they haven't even seen them. Of course, the way
there's that too.
The way that most of them are set up now, it's not exactly set up to where you can. But
No, it's true. But there was a,
but
back
they
in
actually could if they went to use their free movies, like because they're technically able to. They just don't.
yeah, I mean, you walk by them as they're coming in with their buckets, and you say, "Well, how'd you like the film?" Ah, no, I never saw it.
Yeah,
It's
you're
a
not
different
wrong.
time. People are not loving this stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, keep going.
No, you're 100% right. But we're gonna be losing Scribe soon. So
Yeah, don't want to lose Scribe.
Midnight Sun sends in 279 Canadian. Says why weren't Abdi and DeLuca fired for Joker 2? Well, here's the thing. I haven't heard like what I've heard from my people. I've told you guys. I haven't heard that they're in as much of a problem as everybody else has. There's a lot of people who are trying to make Warner Brothers sound like they're in worse shape than they are, make things sound like they're worse than they are over there. There's especially a lot of people, Snyder Bros, excuse me, who have an agenda against a lot of people over there, and they try to just make them look bad. Not only that, in Hollywood right now, for some reason, everybody keeps treating Zaslav like Trump. Now, I'm not saying he's doing good or bad in one way or the other. The point is he can't even get a fair shake. Nothing he does is right. All they do is point out the negatives. And as far as Joker 2 and Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi go, like I said, why would you fire them before Superman comes out? Especially if Superman turns out to be a hit. Like, it makes no sense because we're just getting to the movies where they had anything to do with. This actually kind of segues into another story we got, if you want to touch on that quick here before we go. Before Scribe goes, I mean, where Legendary, you may know the name because you've heard it a million times, is actually filing for bankruptcy.
Wow. What a surprise.
I thought it was Village Roadshow.
Village Roadshow.
Well,
Yeah.
Legendary Entertainment is part of that.
Wow.
Legendary Entertainment Company files Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Well,
Oh.
what's the company is, well, it's Village Roadshow, the company who's responsible for things like the first Joker and the Matrix films and shit like that. A bunch of movies that basically lost Warner Brothers a buttload of fucking money, like Mad Max Fury Road. Shit like that. The Lego movie, though, was good for him, though.
Now,
Great
is this the
Gatsby lost a bunch of
Monsterverse
money.
Legendary also?
This would be that company, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
The one that was suing him over the Matrix.
Yep.
Hang on for 1 second. Are we sure that this is not that they're not just saying Village Roadshow, the legendary studio, as opposed to the actual legendary as in Godzilla and Dune? Because I think that this is just Village Roadshow and not
I think you're
legendary.
right.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Calm down,
Andre.
Entertainment Company. Okay.
Yeah.
Leave it
God
to
the
the non
Norwegian knows
to
how
the
to
one
read
guy who
English.
barely speaks
Well, it's the way it
English.
was written in the title. It's the way it was written in the motherfucking title. Legendary Entertainment. Right there. Type in Legendary Entertainment and see what comes up.
But yeah, it's in reference to Village Roadshow and not legendary as in
Anyway,
Godzilla
same
and
difference, big difference. Whatever. Village Roadshow, same difference, big difference.
Same difference as Okay. Yeah, Matrix and Gladiator, same difference as guys. It's the
Same
same thing.
difference.
Yeah,
no, but
I speak the English well, so yeah.
Yeah, no, shush. I'm half awake and I'm probably high still. So leave
Norselish.
Yeah, also,
It's Norselish.
You're Irish, so yeah.
Norselish.
But yeah, so the company that's behind a lot of their bombs in the last few years, let's say, besides Joker and a couple other randomness, they had to go all the way back to Happy Feet to grab one of their hits. But yeah. And I think wasn't the whole thing with the Matrix thing is they were like, they didn't even want to make the movie or something like that, and Warner Brothers wanted them to, or so. I don't remember the argument.
Well, I believe it was they were going to make it with or without them, and so they elected to join in just so they could have some say or control over it rather than let them run off and do their own thing.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact ins and outs of it, but whatever. Yeah.
Happy Feet was directed by the Mad Max director, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Village Roadshow, yeah, you know what killed this company? Furiosa.
I think that was the critical thing. Well, of course, it's a death of 1,000 cuts, or maybe a death of 10.
My
cuts.
whole point of this is what I was trying to say is like Warner Brothers is not the one who's absorbing most of these losses and problems. This is what I was trying to say before. Anyway, regardless if it's Legendary or if it's the other company, they're both doing the same thing, right? at the end of the day. They're the ones that are absorbing most of these losses, and this is why Village Roadshow is filing for bankruptcy, because all their movies have flopped, and they probably put up most of the money for like Furiosa.
Well, Furiosa, I will say, was a better movie than The Matrix.
It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they both cost a fucking fortune and made nothing.
Sure did.
In fact, they
Furiosa
lost
better
money.
than the Matrix, the first Matrix?
No, the fourth.
No, the newer one.
Fourth. Oh.
And I still
One
argue
no one
that new
saw.
movie's better than anybody says. You know what it's about? It's about a guy who can't get it up anymore, so he starts popping blue pills so he can go on a date with an old flame. Watch that movie knowing
Talking
that
about
now.
The Matrix.
The Matrix, yes, it's exactly what it is.
What is that one called?
Resurrections.
Resurrection. It's called Matrix Erection.
Dances with T-girls.
Okay.
100%
That
what
would
the
mean
movie
I would
is.
have to watch it again, Tom, and I just don't.
That's
know.
exactly what the movie is, because Keanu Reeves plays Neo, but he's like out of the Matrix. He doesn't remember the Matrix, but he keeps like he's forgetting something. He's trying to remember something, and then he meets Trinity, and they're getting ready to go on a date, and he keeps taking these blue pills throughout the film, and so he can finally get back into the Matrix again. It's like if you go with that analogy that I just seen, you could see that. It's this old dude who can't get it up anymore.
The real title of that film is The Matrix, where I wasn't committed enough to take off my John Wick beard.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
But he did it for Bill and Ted, so go figure. That shows you where his commitment is.
Yeah.
And I bet you he will for Constantine too.
I think he should be committed for taking that role again, but
Yeah. Village.
Which
Road.
one?
Someone told me it wasn't a horrible movie.
Which one?
Who?
The
Matrix
last
4?
Matrix.
Oh,
Who
fuck.
told you that?
I can't remember, but someone.
You better
It's a
look.
horrible
You better
movie, but
find
it's one of
them.
those movies that you have to see just because.
It's
I
got
skip
off.
it.
might have even been Robert Burnett who told
Oh
me.
my
You know what?
God.
And the thing I could actually say about it is better than Matrix 3 at least, and maybe Matrix 2.
Oh, really? Okay. I mean,
It's
those
still
of
a
us in the
horrible
know,
fucking movie, but
those of us in the know that there is only one Matrix movie.
that's true.
Yes.
And if you don't count the anime.
There's some neat anime pieces.
Oh, the anime was
Yeah.
great. Yes,
Animatrix was
agree,
good.
yeah. But the Wachowskis are hacks.
Yeah, they're basically one-hit wonders.
Sorry.
Both those guys are hacks. Yes.
Oh. Well, what about Speed
I know
Racer?
what you did there.
Here he comes.
I know what you did there,
There's been
Chris.
some hackiness on those guys. I know that.
But all they
Oh.
did with Speed Racer was just basically literally make a live-action version of the
It looked
cartoon.
beautiful, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, so like
Green.
that, you can't. I mean, yeah, they didn't really
Speed
fuck
Racer
that up.
was acid vomit, and Jupiter Rising
Oh,
was
ascending.
Jupiter Ascending.
Jupiter
Ascending.
Ascending. Sorry,
I will never forget the moment that I saw
so
the
bad.
trailer for Speed Racer. Like in Norway, hardly, and this was when I was in Norway, because that was like 2008 or something. Hardly anyone knows the Speed Racer the cartoon.
Anime. Yeah.
Exactly. Hardly anyone knows it. That's only the biggest of the weeaboos. No one else knows it. And I heard like people, and then the trailer came on, and I looked around in the theaters, and people were horrified by the visual garbage. It was like a guy that
My
said to
kid
me
loved that movie.
there's like the people generally don't talk in theaters and make like funny lines, but it was like a guy who said that you'd have to fucking strap him down and glue his eyes open to see that garbage.
It was pretty
That
faithful
movie did
to
not
the
do
anime.
well in Norway.
I was gonna say, yeah. As far as fans of the anime go, and like my son who grew up on it, like he loved it growing up.
I loved Speed Racer. I watched it first run in North America. But even when I was a kid, I knew it was dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Speed Racer up against a train.
Yeah.
Well,
I prefer
really?
Gigantor myself.
Yeah, like let me tell you this: my kid loved it so much that I've seen it a million times, and I couldn't even really tell you the plot.
You're talking about the movie?
No.
Yes,
We loved the car. The
yeah,
car
that's all
was
my kid loved. He just loved the
fantastic.
racing scenes. You know why he loved the racing scenes? To him, it was basically the closest he'd seen to a live-action Hot Wheels track.
Yeah. Yeah,
'Cause he
not just
adored
that,
Hot
but
Wheels. Yeah.
he was able to equip his rubber wheels with all sorts of like suddenly
Oh, yeah,
it'd have
he
a
loved
different
that
track
shit.
on it.
Did
I love
anybody
Speed
watch
Racer.
Cloud Atlas?
No,
Cloud Atlas was a
no.
piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Wachowski only
Holy
made one good
smokes.
Matrix.
But yeah, no. Village
Oh.
Roadshow has not had a decent hit in how many fucking years?
I haven't heard from them in a long while.
Oh,
The
well.
Well, we know the
IRS
right
finally
company
has.
here.
Yeah.
This is the problem with shit coming in on the fly as we're doing
They
the
did
show.
didn't they do a few Clint Eastwood films?
They
Yeah,
did
a
Mystic
couple of
Mystic
them.
River, I think.
But a little, yeah, I was gonna say some of the older ones, yeah, they were part of.
Yeah.
17 Paris, I think.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you guys. It's basically that fucking
And the
Furiosa
Joker.
movie.
Of course, the Joker.
The Furiosa movie killed the company. Let's be real.
Did they
No.
not do Joker 2?
I don't think they had as much to do with Joker 2, if anything, because they
Okay.
don't list it here.
Okay.
See, because that was our understanding of what was good. Because like the whole thing with Joker 1 that I know Zaslav and everybody was pissed about when he came in was the deal they had made on Joker 1. They didn't get shit out of that. So like Joker 2 was supposed to be their big nut. It ended up costing them a bunch
That
of
was a
fucking
good
money.
one. They did Sully. They did Ready Player One,
Ooh, that one didn't do so well at the box office
Magnificent
either.
Seven, Ocean's 8. Now you know that was a huge hit.
That was
Hey.
another one that didn't do so well at the box office.
Wait a minute. That was the chickification.
That was
of
the chick
Oceans.
one, yeah.
Yes, that was the
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only good thing about that, well, aside from Kate Blanchett, was the brunette girl that used to be great in rom-coms, Sandra Bullock.
They also did Fury Road. Not just. I don't see Furiosa on their list.
No, I think it was just Fury Road. I think somebody else came in for
Oh, they did?
Furiosa.
I thought they had something to do with Furiosa as well.
They did.
They may have,
Maybe I'm wrong.
but they've been having a problem. Look, this is a very long
I'm
time
not
coming.
seeing it in this one list here, so you're probably right, guys. Yeah.
This is not a long time. I mean, this is a long time coming. This isn't just happening. They've been trying to thwart this fate for 3 years. So, it's been a poop show for a while there, and it just got more poopy. And it doesn't help that Warner Brothers is involved in it.
Here's what they've done in the aughts: Sex in the City 2, Cats and Dogs, Revenge of Kitty Galore, Legends of Guardians. That one lost a shit ton of money. I remember that one. Wasn't that Zack Snyder directed film? Life as We Know It, Happy Feet 2, Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows. That was the sequel. Lucky One, Dark Shadows, Gangster Squad, Journey to the West, 101 Proposals, The Great Gatsby, Manataishi, The Lego Movie, the only movie in this list so far that I've said that's made money, Winter's Tale, Edge of Tomorrow, Into the Storm, The Equalizer. That one actually probably did pretty well.
Yeah.
The Judge, Annie, American Sniper did okay. Jupiter Ascending, that lost money. Zong Q, Snow Girl in the Dark Crystal, Mad Max Fury Road, San Andreas, Mountain Cry, Goosebumps, In the Heart of the Sea, Concussion, Brothers Grimsby, The Legend of Tarzan. Oh, that's right. They were one of the producers on the Girls Ghostbusters movie. Yeah, that lost them some money probably. Sully, Magnificent Seven, Hide and Seek, Collateral Beauty, Passengers, Fist Fight, Going in Style. Movies I never even heard of.
Yeah.
King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, The House, Bleeding Steel, The 1517 to Paris, Ready Player One, Ocean's 8, Joker, Matrix Resurrections, Cinnamon, Murder City, Wonka, The Gutter. And then they got a couple of upcoming films, and that's it.
How did Wonka do?
Wonka did pretty good for them.
Yeah, I thought it did.
But it depends on how much they had in on it
Yeah,
compared to Warner Brothers. Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Because Warner actually owns the rights to Wonka, so yeah. But yeah, supposedly we're getting Ready Player 2.
Oh, that's right.
Oh boy.
San Andreas 2, Sherlock Holmes 3, Training Day 2, The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, I Am Legend 2, that I did know was happening, and Eternal Return. So that's what they have on the upcoming. Huh.
Well,
Why would they make a San Andreas 2?
I don't know. I mean, because
The
the Rock.
previous one was
Rock.
the big one.
Yeah.
It wasn't the big one yet.
Look, I'm going to say something that I don't say, which is a nice thing
Uh-oh.
about that Timothy Chalamet Ding Dong kid. That Wonka movie had a $125 million budget. They spent another $100 million in promotion. So you're $225 all in on that. He was able to actually carry that thing out to $634.7 million.
Just barely scraping possible evenness, yeah.
Yeah,
But I think it did very well on video.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah. And look, I mean, the girls like this kid, you know, and if that was like something that Village Roadshow was in on, then good for them.
Well, and this kind of actually that's a point I should make because like going off of what we were talking about earlier, Paul, about how people buy, are into older stuff compared to new stuff. Like Wonka was one of the few steelbooks besides Nosferatu lately that actually sold out. Right, that you couldn't get them so for a newer film. Godzilla vs. Kong is the only other one I could think of recently besides that did. Otherwise, the only ones that ever sell out are older films. Like Wolfman, I can get you that. I can get you a bunch of newer film steel books of those, right? Because nobody gives a fuck about the new movies, but outside of a few random ones. But yeah, Wonka was big enough that one was a tough one to get my hands on. Like I got a damaged steel book because I couldn't get a decent one.
You're muted,
But
Paul.
anyhow, yeah, you're muted, Paul. You're muted, Paul. You're muted, Paul.
He's one of the few legitimate attractions in the movie business. The Bob Dylan movie made $130 million, was completely stunning,
Yeah.
and it was all because of him.
Has anybody else here seen that besides me?
I have not. I want to see it.
It was really good.
I'm not a Dylan fan.
I mean, I think even people who are not that big of Dylan fans will like it.
Okay.
I mean,
I
you
would
may
feel
not-
bad if I saw it before I saw the Led Zeppelin movie.
Well, yeah. Well, that's a documentary, right?
Yeah,
So-
yeah, it's true. Okay.
But yeah, I recommend it. It doesn't fall into all the basic biopic tropes or biopic tropes, however you say the word.
Is it a 2-quadrant movie?
Yeah, I'd say it's at least 2 or 3 quadrant.
Okay. All right.
And it made me feel funny in my 4th quadrant. I
Nice.
know that.
Wow.
Okay, then.
No, I don't know. I know we're losing Scribe here in a few minutes. Was there anything else you had to say about Warner Brothers and Legendary, and that we're not talking about Legendary?
Are we talking about Legendary?
No.
Oh,
we're
okay.
not.
Are we talking about Touchstone Pictures yet? Are they going to
That
bring
would
that
be
back?
a good one.
That might be an idea.
I
No,
mentioned them the other day.
Oh, did you? Okay. Yeah,
They
I
still
got to
technically exist.
technically. Yeah, well, with what they're doing with Disney Plus and putting Anora up in front of Moana 2 on their app today, boy, oh boy, that's a story in and of itself. You guys should talk about that.
Well, the kids
But,
got to learn somehow.
Ay, caramba. Anyway, yeah, I got a split for now. I'll be back in an hour on my channel for DEI Death Watch, episode 11. More stories of the demise and or doubling down on DEI over my channel. And then, of course, Thursdays, TED Excellence, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Last week, we took a look at how the menstrual cycle is a superpower. That was exciting. Who knows what surprises this week will bring, but you'll just have to join me for that. But guys, thank you so much for having me on. Nice to see Andre, Chris, Tom, Culture, and, of course, the Mr. Paul Chato. Everybody in chat, hope you have a good rest of your Monday, and happy St. Patty's Day. Wear your green or risk getting pinched, unless that's your thing, and then enjoy
hey,
that too.
you know, it's all right.
Yep, that can always work. Bye,
you,
guys.
Scribe.
Take care.
See ya.
Bye, Scribe.
All right, let's head into some more of these super chats. We got some Rumble rants actually. Kalekioki sends in one of 2 here over here. Says it's because of the medium format. The LT presented cause OTA channel MeTV has an hour segment featuring cartoon shorts. This is about Looney Tunes. It was so popular that they spun off and created another channel featuring even more classic cartoons, but now it's 24 hours, 7 days a week. I believe they called it MeTV Tunes. Well, that's basically how Cartoon Network started off, and then Boomerang shot off, and that's, yeah. Looney Tunes are popular, but they're not popular enough to get people out of their seats and go see them in theaters. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And even this movie being part of it was probably because of how piss poor it was advertised. I'm not going to disagree with you there, but yeah. Then we got Partsy who sends in a buck and says, main problem with young musicians in metal is that they are technically great, but lack the ability to compose a song. I've been watching the phenomenon for about 6 to 7 years now. Yeah, well, I think it all goes along with, like, if you're not learning things, there's a gap in the generations, and like that's why I was comparing it to NASA. And Andre's gone into that whole thing before too, but yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So it's like you just kind of lose a generational thing where people don't learn how to do things, the fundamentals. And the same can be said for writing and other things like that. But we got this one already. Thank you, Midnight Sun. And then SFX F314 Sabretooth Raptor says, I agree with Tom. The last good Looney Tunes movie was the 90s And that was a last good TV series with Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries. Yeah. Mark's 47 has been here for 47 months. It's his golden birthday, or however you want to call it. STR Red Wolf sends in $4.99, says, it's so bad that Google AI thinks Ryan Gosling was in a Star Wars movie named 2,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Wait, what?
What?
Ryan Gosling in Star Wars 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Okay. Goal 1 for 1 no sends in Mexican $100 and says, when will George Lucas kick the bucket? I've been waiting 10 years for Spaceballs flamethrower. I say we psyop him into believing he's married to Kathleen Kennedy, and that'll do the trick. Oh, that's evil. That's evil. Is that you, Palpatine? I think it's Palpatine. Yeah. Pack and Proton says, top of the morning to you. Thank you, Sadie. Top of the morning to you as well. As my Scottish grandfather with an Irish in him would say. Yes. Top of the morning to you. Carlos Estrada sends in 5 and says, went to Looney Tunes movie, didn't like it as much. See? Yeah. It had some nostalgic moments and some that didn't care for. Went with senior family members. Yeah, I have not heard a good review for it yet, to be honest with you. And then Fallhard just sends in $2. Doesn't say anything, but just sent in $2. We'll say it's for Sadie. There you go. And everybody's happy to hear Sadie in the chat. Yes, indeed. So with that, what else did we have on the docket, Andre? There was a few things we could talk about. Otherwise, what did you want to discuss
Well,
here?
I think we actually have touched on most of them. We touched on Looney Tunes. We touched on Village Roadshow and that collapse. So yeah, the pre-prepped topics we are pretty up to date.
Well, we weren't even
I'm sure
pre-prepped
that
on
Paulie
the last
has some cool topics to chime in on as well, leading up to the review of Snow White that we'll be having here already this Wednesday.
Who knew a bunch of old grown men would be talking about Snow White so much?
Yeah.
Well, before we get into that, you guys want to see the new images from Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, I've been looking forward to that movie, actually.
Johnny Cage is in the house. Look at that. Who is that? Gets me excited. Who is that?
Urban.
That's Carl fucking Urban. That's Judge motherfucking Dredd.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy's not really a household name.
It's a very interesting choice for Johnny Cage.
Yeah, but it's Carl Urban.
It is. It's Carl Urban.
It is.
Freaking
awesome.
awesome.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I just didn't. He looks kind of like in this angle. He looks like Tom Cruise a little bit.
Yeah. I think they're going for that.
I think that's the point. I mean, he's basically obviously going like he's playing Johnny Cage movie star.
Yeah.
And if you get Carl Urban is the perfect chameleon, right? You tell him, okay, you're Tom Cruise. Like, find a way to merge Tom Cruise with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Go. That's what you get.
It makes sense because no kid knows who Jean-Claude Van Damme is now, on the grand scheme of things. But kids know who Tom Cruise is, so you're right, Andre. I bet you $5. That's what they said. Our Johnny Cage is going to be Tom Cruise. Why? Because Tom Cruise is the one out there doing all these real stunts and shit.
Well, Glenn Powell wasn't available.
Yeah. Well, watch that be a big part of Johnny Cage's image is that he does all these death-defying stunts all the time and shit.
Right. Yeah, it looks good.
He's like literally got the sunglasses and the leather jacket and everything.
You know, if they kind of do a little bit of a Fallout humor to this, it could be a lot of fun.
I had a lot of fun with the last one. I know a lot of people didn't like it. But I'm like, look, if I saw this movie when I was 15 years old in a theater, I'd have creamed in my fucking shorts and watched it 10 times.
Ooh, who's that?
That looks like Katana or whatever. Yeah.
Who's the actress? He looks great.
The bad guy.
I don't know. Oh, Scorpion's back.
Yeah.
Hey.
Fatality.
Yeah. Get over here.
Yeah, it is. Get over here.
I know, right?
Hey, get over here.
Am I doing it or is you doing it, Andre?
Doing what?
I'm trying to add it to the screen and it won't add.
It's not me.
Okay, it's being an ass.
This is the Jean-Claude Van Damme we need to remember.
Yes, it is. Very much so.
One of the greatest ads of all time.
Beautiful.
Jean-Claude Van Damme is 50% cocaine. That's a true fact.
What? Oh, was he a user?
Oh, fuck.
I don't know. I guess listen, I'm sorry. I know comedy.
Oh, it's like
Paul doesn't hang out with those types.
I can tell you about.
It's pretty okay. Let's just say it's a pretty well known one of the worst kept secrets in Hollywood. That he was a big coke fiend.
Well, who wasn't?
But like
Seriously.
a really big, like you can't do splits like that without snorting a bunch of coke.
Or having loose underwear.
Or kick fucking semis. Like, look at that.
I mean, some would argue that you need more coke on sets nowadays.
Paulie, that's my mantra: more cocaine and capitalism in Hollywood.
I think Hollywood. I mean, you can tell me, is the drug use down in Hollywood?
I think so. That's part of the problem.
Paulie,
You asking me?
Yeah.
No, recreational drug use is down, but prescription drug use is way up.
No.
Am I wrong, Paulie?
I don't know. People
You're asking the wrong guy there.
I was going to say I'm asking the wrong guy here.
I mean,
if you're forcing him to answer whether he's making as much money as before, I think that's disingenuous.
So if you're
well, here's the thing: if they're making less money, that actually is a very good reason for drug use to go up, not down.
That was such an inside industry type joke, Paul.
So if you're
Stop asking
me,
him how much money he makes.
Jesus.
That's basically what I'm asking you when I ask you if you're still doing coke.
Okay, so the working professionals that I know from shows and movies that they're all pretty much clean and sober.
That's what I figured.
Yeah.
Except they're on Ozempic.
I was going to say, yeah, they're on a bunch of prescription meds. Yes. Yeah.
Well, those are, it's different. That's different.
That's different in quotations.
It's different. But everyone's on that shit. Yeah.
I bet you.
Yeah, I do. I do know a lot of working
Adderall
professionals. King Rumschunkel, whatever your name is. I know a lot of working professionals.
Yeah, he does. Not just hookers.
Oh.
Yes,
Well, they're the new favorite victim class in Hollywood, I understand.
Well, that's why I was making the joke about Honora being on the Disney Plus thing earlier. It's like, you guys act like being a sex worker isn't a legitimate
Honora's
job.
on Disney Plus.
And
Yes, Honora's on Disney Plus.
We're only a few years away from most girls saying that I want to be an OnlyFans model as an aspiring fucking.
That's what they mean by
career.
princess now.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Chris is like, what have I getting myself into?
Fallhard sends in 5 and says, Speed Racer's a great movie. Got to watch it on acid. Oh my god, that might kill somebody. Happy St. Patty's Day. Drank too much last. Super chat didn't go through. Oh, okay. Well, that makes more sense.
Is that the Wachowskis that did that movie?
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, we could only think of one good Wachowski movie.
Now that song is gonna be stuck in my fucking head all day.
Bound?
No.
Bound's Matrix. Okay, but Matrix and basically they got a trilogy. They got Bound, they got the Matrix, and they got
V
Speed Racer. Did they direct V for Vendetta?
I don't think they directed it. I think
they just produced it. Yeah.
We didn't count that one, Paulie.
Yeah, we don't count that.
But you like the Bill and Ted's garbage.
What you mean, Bill and Ted Face the Music?
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
It's terrible.
Compared to Jupiter Ascending, not even close. Ethereal.
Well, yeah. I mean,
you're talking like what? Wait, what? No, like you want to compare it to the Matrix? Bill and Ted 3 is still better than any of the Matrix sequels.
You are so now. Are you sure you're not in coke this morning?
No, man. I liked it more than any of those.
Yeah, man. I liked it.
I'll watch that any day over the fucking Matrix.
Bill and Ted
sequels.
2 is underrated. 3 is
Bill and
not
Ted
good.
2 is great. 3 is okay. It's like, but you're looking
I
at
meant
like
3. Sorry, guys. I meant 3.
3 is not good.
Not 2.
3
I like
is.
2.
But you're like comparing The Godfather and Godfather 2 to Godfather 3 there. And don't even get us started on that shit.
Don't get me started. You brought it up.
Yeah. Anyway, I have a question. Do you know anything about Henry Cavill's projects, Highlander and Warhammer 40K? Asks Elturiel. That's how you say that? Elturiel?
Who's Henry Cavill?
Yeah, right. No. As far as I know, Highlander is supposed to start shooting here soon.
Thank you,
is what we keep hearing.
Meister.
Have you heard anything, Paulie, or anything like that? I haven't heard anything about Warhammer, though.
I don't know anything about Cavill. Sorry.
Once we start hearing more casting news on Highlander, that means they're getting ready to shoot.
Yeah.
Because we have yet to know who's going to play the Kurgan or any kind of antagonist in the film yet.
Last we heard, it was going to film this spring. So either it's stalled or they're busy like bees behind the scenes, which we don't know until we get something in the public here.
Well, keep in mind,
moved to May. The film.
I was going to say it was
May.
moved a little back because we got to keep in mind that between the time this movie was first announced and Cavill signed on, and now still to this day, Chad Stahelski went from just being a director on this project to overseeing the entire John Wick and what was the other thing? He's overseeing Highlander and what else? There was like
Warhammer?
another thing. No, not because Warhammer's over at Amazon. I'm talking about Chad Stahelski, the guy who did the John Wick. There's some other thing he's overseeing too, all at the same time. So like all of a sudden this guy is now basically like a little mini studio over there doing all this shit. So at Lionsgate. So
Chad Stahelski, he's got
one of the guys behind
the or something. I think
that might be it. What I'm thinking of, I'm trying to remember. It was some other project that he's going to be a part of. So I think that's what pushed a lot of this back. And Cavill's been getting ready for it. He said he's been sword training and all that kind of shit. Yeah.
Hear me out. He hasn't had a film out in the theaters in over a year, right? And those bombed.
John Wick.
And no, Cavill.
Cavill's. This is a movie that's going to kind of make or break whether or not this guy can sell a franchise.
That's already been proven, bro.
I think you're right. I'm not disagreeing with you. But
we all love him.
I know. Yep. Okay. I don't disagree with you, Paulie. But I mean, this is because to me, it's like this is one of those things where it's a perfect controlled test. And what I mean by that is Superman was so much bigger than Cavill was. A lot of these other projects bouncing back and forth, you could say one way or the other. This is something where I feel like Cavill and Highlander are a perfect marriage. And if this doesn't fucking work, then nothing will. You're right. He's never meant to be this movie star that we think he is or people think he is. Now, Bond is the only other thing that I could see in his horizon that could possibly still push him over the edge. But that's...
Well, think about that. I mean, Bond is right. Cavill's one of those actors that it's about the property. It's not about the actor. Just like Christopher Reeve. Did he have big hits outside of Superman?
No, he had none. Zero.
No. He had like small,
Rear Window.
I think Henry Cavill
Out of Time.
Actor.
Out of Time was the only other big
Somewhere in Time.
He had.
Somewhere in Time. Sorry,
Somewhere in Time. Yeah.
But there's also nothing wrong with being a real great co-star, and I think Cavill was like the Mission Impossible.
Yeah,
he was perfect in that role.
He's just not a box office draw. That's all.
There's nothing
I
wrong
don't
with
think that Highlander needs a big actor. It didn't need Sean Connery, right?
I'm with you.
But I as far as sex appeal too, I think he suffered during the last 5 to 10 years where, he should have been with his shirt off half the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why Momoa had hits because
right.
Oh, you don't think he's a fine actor?
No. No.
He seems like a fun guy, but yeah.
He does. No. Two different things there.
Right.
The only other thing I keep hearing about Cavill is that he might be the prospect for to take over the Wolverine. That's the only other thing I've heard. But he's older than I think Disney is going to want to go to because how much younger than Hugh Jackman is Henry Cavill really? See, that's another thing that people got to keep forgetting and we got to keep reminding people is that he's not a young man anymore, right? Like
you're still a young man.
They need a foreigner for Wolverine, like maybe one of those Canadians or something. I think.
Yeah,
there's an answer for Wolverine, and they just won't accept it. I come out with my claws, and I'm just schnickety schnying, not even looking, just slicing shit. Danny DeVito all the way. Come on.
Perfect. Maybe he'll be in Secret Wars.
Too bad Nicholson is not in his prime.
My eyes are up here, bub.
Nicholson in his prime.
All right,
Nicholson would have been great.
In 1980.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, in his prime.
Yeah. Pilgrim Media says Racer X Speed Race's half brother. Fun fact. Yes, this is true. Jesus Davila reminds you to smash the like button. Well, thank you for that, Jesus. And Master Clockwork says, I wonder if there's anyone out there who's tried to explain how Speed Racer is an allegory for transition.
Oh, don't give them ideas, because I'm sure someone at Greenfield College or whatever the hell that thing was called are going to do a doctoral thesis on just that.
Is this real? What?
They already did it on The Matrix.
Yeah, they did it on Lord of the Rings as well.
Oh,
you had like this DEI Lord of the Rings seminar where you had a bunch of activists reading a bunch of like neo-gender messaging into Lord of the Rings with like trans orcs and stuff like that. Yeah, for real. So no one obviously has done this, but hey, give it time and give them ideas, and now they're desperate. I'm sure there's some people, when they're losing their academic positions and stuff like that, are going to be real desperate to try to stay relevant. Let's latch on to pop culture. Wait and see.
Yeah, they've written a thesis on everything.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Nikki D sends in 5 and says, what does the panel think about the upcoming F1 movie starring Brad Pitt and directed by the TGM director? How will it do at the box office? Oh, I was going to ask you, Paul. You'd be the one who'd probably ask about this. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it looks. I mean, it's amazing what they've managed. I saw a behind the scenes how they managed to insert themselves into real races and into the real starting line, and they mocked up an F2 car to look like an F1 car, and they were really racing it in different parts of the warm-ups and stuff like that. So it's fantastic the effort that they've put into verisimilitude, but it looks boring. It looks sanitized. I don't know. We'll see.
I didn't catch the trailer yet.
So. I was thoroughly unimpressed by the trailer. I remember seeing it, and I don't even remember it.
Yep.
So yeah.
That's my issue. Is it's
well, that's too bad.
We shall see. I mean, but sometimes all that effort to make something look real takes away some of the movie magic of it, right? I mean, there's so many parts of movies that are close to real enough. We call them MacGuffins, that we're willing to believe this silly moment, but it makes the difference in the movie, right? So sometimes reality doesn't make for good stories.
I like McMuffins, just so you know.
McMuffin?
Yes. McDonald's new McGuffins.
Yeah, if like I'm on a vacation or something, it's one of the few junk food things I allow myself is a McMuffin. So
terrible for you.
Oh, I know. I know. I know.
Well, with that, we are caught up on Super Chats. And let me double check on the Rumble side. We got one more for Kalekioki, who says, when is the Who Framed Roger Rabbit retrospective coming out? Retrospective channel is due for another drop. You're not wrong. In fact, Andre's been hard at work on a different retrospective. Roger Rabbit might not be for a little bit. We try to kind of time these things with anniversaries. And I guess I can give a tease. I don't know. Andre ran off, so I could do this real quick before he gets back. He'd be like, don't go telling everybody. No, I'm just kidding. He's got Constantine coming up next, the Keanu Reeves film that we talked about earlier, actually. So that'll be one of the next ones. And then on the docket, we also have Dick Tracy and TMNT. So keep a lookout for those. Will be ones that will be in the pipeline, hopefully in the next few months to get out before the end of the year. At least those are ones we're hoping for, fingers crossed. And if we can get to those, we may even do some more. But but with Dick Tracy, we got a couple of fun things planned for that already to go along with that. So, yeah. Calling Dick Tracy.
Dick Tracy, starring Dylan Mulvaney.
I can't find a trace in my dick.
That's it. Where is it? Where's
my dick? Oh my God, I need a Bud Light.
Does that mean the jokes are getting worse there, Chris?
Yes, I think we are petered
out.
We've petered out. Oh.
I saved that one. I had that one up my sleeve, up my green sleeves.
Listen, you can't do better than ending on a dick joke.
That's right. Agreed.
SFX
don't want to step on a dick joke. That's
right. Well, here's a classic to go off on. Go out on. SFX F314 Sabretooth Raptor says, duck season, rabbit season, duck season, rabbit season, duck season, Elmer Fudd season. Oh, hello. Elf season. Mikey's going to smile on the last one. Elmer runs. There you go.
Worth every I heard that movie's really good.
It might be, but I haven't heard a good review yet.
Oh, Rosa we just put up Rosa's review.
Oh, what did she say?
She loved it. And
the Earth blew up. Is that what you're talking about, Paulie?
Yeah, so she really appreciated the hand-drawn 2D animation, nostalgia, like the look was amazing. And she says a story, a really great story about friendship and heroism and laughs. So,
hey, good. I hope it does better. They just didn't advertise much for it, I think.
No.
It looks like it's OG Daffy, too. It's not.
Yep.
Let me
later
like
Daffy.
50s.
I'll put that review in the chat for anyone who wants to read a review.
Take a look at that.
Yeah.
And she'll be joining you guys this Wednesday.
Yeah, she will, because she will have seen Snow White and can give us all the ins and outs for better and worse about it. So that should be interesting. So be sure to check back on Wednesday with special guest and special review. Should be interesting.
Yeah, she'll have seen it the night before. So that morning you can do total spoiler reviews the day before, is like the embargo's lifted, right? So she'll see tomorrow night. Technically, you can, if you've seen the film, you can do reactions to it right now.
Up until
Wednesday?
I
mentioned that. Yeah, up until Wednesday is when embargo drops. Yeah.
Wednesday morning.
Yep.
Right.
Does she be one of the first? Does she have a reaction to it, Paulie?
The reaction will be tomorrow night on the slant.
Okay.
And then I got a couple of friends. I didn't even know that they were going. They were at the premiere Saturday night, and so me and Shado are gonna go over some of their comments.
Oh, cool.
I gotta ask a question, Paul. Is it a good sign that the embargo drops right before the film?
No.
Or is it better if the embargo drops well before the film?
I mean, I honestly think usually it's a bad sign.
Yeah.
So, we'll see how the chips fall.
The only time sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just want to say the only time in recent history where I can recall a review embargo and it wasn't a bad sign, as in the studio believed in the movie, was Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. That's the only time that I can remember where the studio genuinely believed in the movie and they said they embargoed it to avoid spoilers, and that was the 100% truth. In every other case, the closer the embargo is to premiere date, the worse it is. Anything you want to add to that, Paulie?
No, I mean that's what I'm saying. Is I think you're absolutely right. I think what they're just trying to do is like what everyone else has been commenting on, is just control as much as they can any Ziegler performance blowback. So or
all right,
no.
50 million next weekend.
That's your prediction for this weekend?
Yeah, this weekend.
That's the bar you're setting. All right.
Oh, that's 50 million for the entire weekend, right? In total,
it's the entire run, I think. No,
the entire run.
No, for the weekend. But I'm with Tom. I don't think it's going to beat Little Mermaid.
Nope, I think that's the bar it has to beat, and I don't think because it has so much more going against it than even the Little Mermaid did.
What's the Little Mermaid?
As going for it though is that it's not a it's more
Little
of a
Mermaid
classic.
Was right around $500 million.
Little Mermaid's much newer, and I think you've got maybe even a wider audience of people that just want to see that legacy that may not have been interested in a Little Mermaid live action and may have been put off because just based on appearance, the Little Mermaid looks more DEI than the Snow White.
You want to know one of the reasons why I say this, though?
Go ahead.
Do you know how many times Snow White has been released in the last 25 years?
Oh, sure. But Snow White and the Huntsman. This is a remake of Snow White and the Huntsman.
No. I mean the actual original Disney, like they released it on DVD.
Oh, sure.
They released it on Blu-ray.
Not that live
They released it on 4K. That's it.
Live action.
Now, let me finish my point here, though. So they released the original Snow White on one time on each format. Take a guess how many times Little Mermaid has been released on DVD, Blu-ray, and 4K. I'll wait because it's like 5 or 6.
Oh, okay.
See, that's my point. More people like the Little Mermaid. It's a more modern thing. Little girls, you go Little Mermaid, they'll go squee. You say Snow White, about 2 out of 5 might go squee.
Good point.
That's my point. They even know it. Like, Snow White is not even nearly on the level of Little Mermaid, Moana, or Stitch. Those 3 things are, and Frozen added into that, with Cars, are their 5 probably biggest fucking franchises they have right now. Am I wrong, Culture?
No.
Stitch is gonna crush this.
It is.
Cars is just big because little boys love cars and they consistently buy cars like they're going out of style. So
Cars, dinosaurs,
yeah,
you know,
So
fire
between
engine.
between this weekend
Yeah.
and the next big family film, how long is that?
Well, look, the next Disney thing doesn't come out until May, and that's Thunderbolts.
Okay, that's not the same, but
no, the next big
how
thing
about
is I think
Lilo?
Stitch.
When's Lilo?
I was gonna say
Lilo and
Stitch and Dragon go up against
July.
each other. Yeah,
It's July. Yeah.
All right. So I think it's if it doesn't make money, it's not because the schedule didn't help them. This is probably the best schedule you could ask for. It's been dry. It's gonna be dry for families to go take their little kids to. And I wouldn't say Andre's, you know, that age range. I would say younger to go to. I think it's gonna. I actually think it's gonna do very well, and I know a lot of people are upset by me saying that, but I don't care. I think it's gonna do really well globally. It'll have some Mufasa legs, and this is, you know. So, and the main reason why I say that is because of the schedule.
They could have
Lion
been
King
one this weekend too. Easily.
Lion King is also another big one too, where it's been released multiple times. Like, that's what I'm trying to say is, like, Snow White just does not have the appeal it used to. It may with some of the older fans, and I'm not saying some kids might not come to the table just because it's the only thing out there, but I don't see this thing breaking anywhere near Little Mermaid.
Okay.
Well, Little Mermaid's 569 million.
Yeah, and I don't see this getting near that.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be more in the 300 to 350, maybe 400 million tops. All
global.
Yeah.
Total.
Yeah, I would be surprised if it hits $500 million.
Yeah.
Shocked, really, globally.
I don't think the appeal's there. I don't think that Lilo and Stitch is going to make fucking bank.
That's going to be $1 billion movie.
Well, that's a monster.
Yeah.
Like, as far as gargantuan hit, yeah.
Oh, it's going to eat up the summer, I bet. Actually, I'm wondering if Warner Brothers shouldn't fucking worry now after seeing that trailer.
Yeah.
The great trailer.
Yeah, it was.
My daughter is 25 years
trailer.
old, and we were talking on the phone the other day, and that trailer came up.
Disney's going to steamroll themselves with fucking Fantastic Four, and it's going to kick the shit out of the Dragon movie.
Yeah,
because the buzz for that was real minimal compared to Stitch.
Well, and again, it's more race swapping bologna sausage is not going to help it.
That's not helping it. No, you're right on that. Culture.
You're talking about How to Train. I don't even think that matters. I don't think that
doesn't
I just don't
doesn't
think
matter
that
as
property.
much.
I just don't think that property's ready for a live action.
Yeah, everything can't be bologna sausage, but that's a different argument. We're gonna go see the Dragon movie early at the CinemaCon.
Oh, cool.
So you get to see it ahead of time.
We'll let us know how everyone reacts.
I've been wanting to get into CinemaCon for years.
We'll me and Rosa are going, so we're let's hook up. Let's hook Rosa up with Dragon. We'll get on here.
Awesome.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think the Dragon movie will be fine as long as it's basically a carbon copy of the original. The only thing people will complain about will be the race swap, and that's about it. And that'll be a minimal gripe probably. Stitch, I think, is going to run away with the summer. I think Warner Brothers should be worried about it, and I think even they should maybe think about like how it's going to destroy Fantastic Four in a way too.
That Dragon trailer looks great. It looks great on the big screen.
It does, and it does have that going for it. But if you got that, July is going to be so fucking packed. This is what pisses me off about the last 2 years of movies, and we bitched about this last year too. Like when I said, why the fuck is Ghostbusters coming out now instead of June? And shit like that, because there was like, it's the same thing this year. Everything is all packed into July, and it's like most people don't even want to go to the theater anymore in the summers compared to what they used to.
But see, this is why I think Disney pushed this movie back a year. They saw the pocket, and between now and between a year ago and in this week, what they were hoping for was to totally have Ziegler, go radio silent. She did it for the most part, but then the elections came and that jacked everything up again. That riled everything up again. because they really wanted to, re-kickstart the love for Snow White. I truly, and from what from the reactions that I got from people that I know, they reshot the woke out of this film. So
it might help it, but I think the bigger problem here is, my other point is going to make is the music. The Little Mermaid has so much more memorable music. You ask a little girl to name a couple of songs in The Little Mermaid, like, Andre, do this test later with your daughter. Ask her to name a couple of songs from Little Mermaid. I bet you she'll name at least 3 or 4. Ask her to name some songs from Snow White. I bet you she won't know one.
Correct.
Well, Waiting on a Wish is
the new song, and that's the
new
other
song
thing,
is really they're really pushing it. And there's Whistle While You Work, Hi Ho, Hi Ho. That is
Hi Ho, Hi Ho might be the only one that most people remember besides Someday My Prince Will Come, which is no longer in the film, right, Culture?
It's in the film. It's not sung by her.
Yeah. Was it sung by some gay dude or what?
No, Gal Gadot.
It's just it's just the orchestra. But I think between those 2 old songs and the new song, that kids will be singing it. But I'm just going on family feeling, guys. I'm going on.
I mean,
family.
I agree with you that there's not much. I mean, there's not much in the way of competition, but even Captain America 4 should be kind of a litmus test to show you that it doesn't need competition to still fail. Right? If people are not interested,
I think Disney's problem is they've trained their fans that they can wait until it comes on streaming.
Too.
That hurt
because we were looking at all the pre-sales.
I think that's starting to chip away at Disney's box office receipts.
Because we looked at the pre-sales, and not just like where I'm from, but like Anna brought up the bigger theaters over where she's at in California there. Like the what's one she bring up? I think she brought up like Westwood and some of the other ones and stuff like that. And they're like empty for all the major showings. There's like 4 or 5 tops sold.
It's still early. It's still early.
I think pre-sale.
But for Marvel movies and stuff like this, we would still see more sales than this.
Yeah. But I mean, it's Monday.
I think it's a marker we're using too much. And then you see it films legging stuff out that had no pre-sales. Or they had a great first weekend and then they died, and they had great pre-sales. So I think it's the schedule, and if I think that's a huge that's a huge. Now you're right in regards to Captain America, because Cap 4 got horrible word of mouth. This movie also needs to get good word of mouth, and the families will go and come back.
Well, and that's the thing. Most people are smart enough to know most of these reviews are curated reviews. They wait for people like us to review them, like Gary at Nerdrotic and everybody like that, and stuff like that. They wait for those reviews now. And I know those guys are going to end up seeing it. We know what they're probably going to think of it. Now, if they end up liking it, they'll say it. But because I remember Little Mermaid was one of those things where a lot of people said the movie itself wasn't as bad outside of the changes, and Haley Bailey can sing and whatnot, but it was just the changes really irked, especially like the girls on Toxic Femme. They hated how they changed Eric's role in the film and all that kind of business. And that's the thing this movie suffers from more than anything. Even with the reshoots, they still have this problem that this movie barely represents the original film anymore. See, that's the problem. Like you go back to The Lion King, Aladdin, and all those films, regardless of the few minor changes they made with those films, the ones that were billion-dollar films, those were still almost carbon copies of the original film at the end of the day. These are really changing a lot. And people are aware of this now. Like, that's what I think this is going to suffer from. I think this is going to have a big problem going into it following Little Mermaid, where a lot of people saw that this Little Mermaid is not exactly the Little Mermaid we grew up with. Right. And kids, I don't know how they're going to react to it. That's a whole nother story. But I mean, Andre, you've got kids. I mean, kids, I don't even know if they're that into movies anymore as they used to be anyway. That's the other thing.
Not the same way, no.
No. They're very disposable entertainment to them. See, like when we were growing up, a movie was a big deal, because to us to be able to go out to the theater and do all that kind of business for a kid is
attention span is done. So yeah, no.
And I started noticing that with my kid, because we were watching Cars, and that's when I started griping about kids' movies being so long. I'm like, there's no reason Cars should be over an hour and a half. And the fucking movie's 2 hours and 4 minutes long. Because both my nephew and my son were starting to get antsy about hour or so into the movie. And that's a problem because kids don't want to sit there for 2 hours in the theater either.
I don't
even
wanna
if
sit,
even if they enjoy the movie.
I don't want to sit for 2 hours in a movie anymore. So
No, because kids love home video. They love to be able to come back to it, watch their favorite parts over and over and over again. You know, annoy the piss out of their parents with it. Like,
Nova came
in
short.
theater.
Nova came short. Just wasn't great. It's good performances.
Well, and I got another movie that I haven't got a chance to finish yet. The new Christoph Waltz film that's only under 90 minutes long too. It's called Old Guy. It's all in theaters and on streaming at the same time. But yeah, that might be one that Paul might be interested in. I don't know. You're muted, Paul. But it's got who Christoph Waltz is. He was from Inglourious Basterds and stuff. It's basically real quick. The quick synopsis is he's an old assassin. And he recently had like surgery on his hand for like arthritis and shit. And he finds out that his company, the outfit or whatever you want to call it, is going young. So he's got to basically train his new DEI hire. It's some woke kid, yeah. It actually looks kind of interesting. So I'm like, I got started watching it, but I didn't get to finish it yet. But that's only 90 minutes long. It's like it was kind of refreshing seeing a movie that was under 2 hours. But I haven't get to finish it yet to see if it's any good, but at least it's got that going for it. But anyway, let's get out of here. Speaking of 2 hours, because we're over 2 hours. Paul, let's start with you. What do you got coming up? Do I get a TV guide video anytime soon?
No.
You're such a lazy bastard. You never do anything.
I have a Call Me Chato video and an Appalling News video that's brand new. Go watch them.
Like I said, you never do anything.
Go fuck yourselves.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
of course, go check out Paul's new videos on Appalling News and Call Me Chato. And hopefully someday, maybe again, we'll get a TV guide.
And I'm going to be on with Paulie in another few minutes.
Awesome.
Oh, wow.
No wonder he's rushing us.
We're going live right now. Yeah. Other than that,
go talk about Paulie.
Go F yourselves, everyone.
Well, what are you guys going to be talking about, Paulie?
We're going to continue this conversation. We got. I want to pick Shato's brain about streaming. What else we're gonna there's another sci-fi thriller opening up this weekend called Ash. We're gonna take a look at that, and that's it, man. Come and hang out with us.
Yeah, you don't even need to go anywhere because this stream redirects there.
Quick question though, Paulie, on Ash. Do you think that's going to do better than Mickey 17?
Well, you already have a great looking leading actress, so that always helps.
No, for sure. But I'm just curious because I mean it's kind of the same ballpark, right?
We are, yeah. I don't know anything about it.
Isn't it? Is it Ash from the zombie killers?
Yeah. Evil Dead.
So we're gonna. No, not Ash. Confusing me.
I wish.
So, Culture, we are going to review it and put the review up. But me and Chad are going to look at the trailer because this is also the same woman that was in final competition for Rey Skywalker a few years back.
Oh, sure.
And she's having a much better career than Daisy Ridley.
Yeah. What happened to her?
I don't know, man. She's up skyscraping.
Scraping windows.
Scraper. Yeah. Her name is Isa Gonzalez. Very beautiful. She was in that Gentleman's Warfare movie. She was the great. She had that great.
Oh yeah, I remember her. She had a great role in that. Absolutely. Yeah. And I have to tell you that Henry Cavill movie was good. I don't care what anybody says. The title was crap.
It was a messed up title.
Yeah, Tom was right on that. That title was horrible. So it was a good flick. So yeah.
All right. Well, everybody go check out Paulie because that sounds like it's going to be fun. Because he and Shadow are you get the two Pauls.
Indeed. So what do you got going on, Chris? Anything good?
Server problems at Bleeding Fool. We've been getting some DDoS attacks. So the website might look a little funny today. We've successfully moved it to a new server, but remnants of the previous server. I mean, like I still look at it and I'm looking at the old stuff. So it's not quite there yet, but we've got the top men working on it.
Top men.
No, you don't, because Paul's not working on it.
I was about to say.
So we're quite beloved. That's why they attack us.
He's definitely a top. He's never a bottom.
Yeah, you got a nice, got a new you got a new co-location is what you got.
Except for when
That's
it comes
right.
to his wife. He's definitely a bottom when it comes to his wife. He'll tell you that right now.
I don't mind that so much.
All right. I've been giving Paul enough shit.
Guys,
I got to be nice
I had
to him.
fun. Thank you for having me. I'll try to make it Wednesday also this week. But I'll try to tune in to what Paulie and Paul are talking about while I'm driving.
Me too.
Thanks, guys.
Indeed. And thank you for being here. We got culture last but definitely not least. What you got coming up?
Well, I dropped a video already this morning. I'm putting the final touches on the second one of the day, and I'm hoping to put a third one out. So that's my goal. Looking forward to getting you entertained and entertainment news at the same time. And I will not bring you flowers and candy about Snow White. I'm going to bring you nothing but sour apples. Apparently my hate
poison apples.
My hating manhood is going to be fully engaged.
It's poison apples.
As long as it's not engorged.
I'm just saying. Anyway, I'm glad to be here, and I look forward to listening to Paulie and Paul while I finish editing. So thanks.
You can't say
Thanks, culture.
Radio.
You bet.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
What? Andre, what is it time for?
Yeah, well, with that, since everyone has had their outros, it is time for some koalas.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given, koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given.